I think if anyone is considering a national or even an international kind of profile and reputation, you've got to find the ambassador piece. You've got to find the thing that'll go out there and talk to people. So for us at the Queensland Theatre Company, it's a lot about touring. How are we building our touring models? How we make sure that the work that we're doing isn't just seen by a small group of people in our own home city, but getting it out there, be it regional Queensland or across the country. And through that, you build networks and you get, if you like, some kind of idea of aesthetic leveling, kind of benchmarking by talking to different people all the time. So I guess the biggest piece of advice for anyone who is trying to get out there is you build a reputation by the work that you make, and you need to create an ambassador piece, a piece that will go out there and talk to as many people for you as you can. Because the employee of today is the employer of tomorrow. You know, the notion that you can sit hermetically sealed from the rest of the nation, the rest of the world is silly. The more you kind of are able to learn the lessons that someone else has, through trial and error, learned, the less you have to do it yourself. And that when people start to say, oh, you know, oh, so-and-so did that 10 years ago in a different city, you can go, oh yes, but I'm doing it like this and I'm doing this differently. You have a knowledge of what's going on around the place. I think one of our biggest issues here in Queensland is that we think things are new when they're not. We think things are cutting edge when someone else, somewhere else, did it 15 years ago. And we kind of get caught in this feedback loop that we think we're great, and we are, but we're caught in a different discussion because other people did it somewhere else. So for me, if you are as informed as you can be, and you can now with the internet, with the idea of seeing snippets of people's work with cheap airfares, you can stay informed about people's work and not feel isolated, both artistically but also geographically. And I think the challenges for us as artists in Queensland is not to allow other people's opinions of us to stop us growing. So often what we do is we say, oh, someone else didn't like my work, well, that's right, I love it, I think it's fine, I think it's all absolutely fine, and I don't care what they think. When in fact you should say, oh, what is it they didn't like? How could I actually improve my work? Have I missed the context? Have I not articulated something? That everyone's opinion is an unanswered question. Ask the question and improve your work. Anyway, be informed. Don't just go with what's the easiest thing. I think the Australia Council has changed all of the structures so that it can throw all the resources up in the air again and it can settle in a different way. And if we just go back to the old ways of working, we will be rejected. You know, this is a challenge to think differently about what we do. And if that means, you know, jumping in bed with another piece of infrastructure, be it the Judy or Powerhouse or us or QPower, whoever, and actually that's how you're going to best serve your project, then do it. Don't think about setting up a whole new company if that's not what you really want to do. Think about what it's about and do it that way. I think the other thing for the Australia Council is that it wants to look at what's innovative and what's moving things forward. And often what we're doing in Queensland is building infrastructure, building kind of ways of working, building knowledge amongst ourselves, and that sometimes it's seen as isolated from the body of knowledge that's in the country. We have to invest in understanding what is going on in the country. They have to invest in understanding what's going on here and get more honed arguments. I think in Queensland in particular, or let's say in the southeast corner, there's real strengths in ensemble work, especially in physical work, be that circus or ideas of ensemble, physical theatre, Butoh-based work. There's also a strong classicism. You know, we have more Shakespeare ensembles in Queensland than almost anywhere else in the country. And unfortunately, those kind of ideas are not in fashion nationally. So hone your arguments why this is important and what our history is. Maybe we have to, through our applications, inform the rest of the country what our history is here in this state, and that's why this practice is important and this is how we're innovating. Don't just assume that they know, because often they're ignorant. They're so ignorant about what's going on in Queensland, and whoever they are, easily dismiss what is very strong and powerful traditions here. Benchmarking is one of those things that can seem hard because it naturally means you have to be critical of your own work and critical of your own company. And often what I'm doing as an artist is I'm seeing work and going, oh, that wouldn't work in Brisbane, or that would, what am I learning there, who's that artist, what's going on, what's that trend, what's that, and trying to then spread that on to different artists in my purview as an artistic director here. I think that benchmarking is one of those things that we love to think that we are unique. As artists, we think that we are the only people doing it. We think we're amazing, but we get left behind with that attitude. You actually have to engage. You have to see why you're unique. I mean, I was always blessed with a very unique voice. As an Indigenous artist, my voice as an Indigenous storyteller was considered unique nationally, and so therefore I got lots of different responses. But I was looking at, you know, the work of Polytoxic. They're amazing because they are very unique in their cultural voice, and almost without peer when you look around the country, the work they're doing and how they're doing it, and then the Briefs Boys and how that all kind of is all related. But also looking at our circus traditions here, Cassis at the moment, and through Circa as well, there's very interesting things that if we don't benchmark, if we don't say this is how important we are, this is how advanced we are, then we get left behind because we're not engaging in a national debate. And in some respects, if we don't benchmark, it kind of becomes a reflection of our own fear that we're not good enough, and we become not good enough if we don't. If we don't benchmark, our fear that we are less than, that our kind of reticence to engage actually keeps us isolated and keeps us out of the loop. The key is have critical friends around you who will give you feedback, and sometimes very critical feedback. Have the ears to hear it, and then make sure that you take it on or not, but you have informed investment in what you're doing. Have an informed way of looking at how this application is going forward. Don't do it alone.